somewhere deep in the folds of Africa, beyond where the paved roads end, beyond satellite signals, Wi-Fi bars, and grocery stores. There are people, yes, real people who still live like it's 10,000 years ago. No clocks, no bosses, no banks. They hunt with poisoned arrows. They sleep under the stars. And they believe that sharing a piece of fruit is more important than owning a piece of land. In the 21st century, these tribes are living proof that another way of life still exists. I'm standing in northern Tanzania, where the rising sun paints the sky in amber and blood. Dust swirls across the bare feet of a man named Lomasi, a hunter from the Hadza people, also known as the last free tribe of Africa. There's no fence, no passport, no government ID. What he carries with him is all he owns: a bow, some arrows, a knife made from recycled metal, and a dried gourd filled with water. For over 40,000 years, the Hadza have lived on the rim of Lake Eyasi, hunting and gathering in the same way their ancestors did when mammoths still roamed the earth. They are the last true hunter-gatherers of East Africa, and possibly the last truly wild humans on Earth. Lomasi lifts his bow. A single arrow tipped with poison made from the sap of the desert rose tree is aimed with a stillness that could silence a thunderstorm. He has tracked a dik-dik, a tiny antelope weighing just 15 pounds, for over an hour, reading footprints and the bend of broken grass-like words in a secret book. He lets the arrow fly. The Hadza don't farm. They don't herd. They don't store food for tomorrow. They live by one rule: eat today, live today, share today. In this society, there is no ownership of meat, tools, or even fire. If you find something, honey, a bird's egg, a tuber in the ground, you share it immediately, without question. There is no debt, no status, no jealousy. They don't have a word for mine. There's only ours. In the Hadza worldview, freedom is not about having choices. It's about having no chains. No one commands anyone. There are no chiefs, no priests, no rich or poor. Every adult chooses where to sleep, who to love, and whether to join a hunt or not. Even their marriages or lack thereof reflect this radical independence. A man and woman may live together for a while, then part without ceremony or bitterness. There are no dowries, no contracts, no promises made to last beyond the season. For many of us, that would be chaos. For them, it is peace. But survival here is no fairy tale. There are no supermarkets, no takeout. If you want to eat, you must kill or find it yourself. The Hadza hunt baboon, porcupine, even giraffe, but only what they need. No trophy killing, no waste. Every piece of the animal is used. Meat is shared, bones are cracked for marrow, tendons are turned into bowstrings, skin is used for bedding. Even blood is consumed raw. If food is scarce each, drop is energy, survival. Women and children, meanwhile, forage. They can identify hundreds of plants edible, some medicinal, others lethal. Their favorite? Wild honey. But finding it in the canopy isn't easy. So they listen for birds. A tiny species called the honey guide leads them to the hives. It chirps insistently, fluttering from branch to branch. The Hadza follow. When they find the hive, they smoke out the bees, take the honey, and always leave some wax behind as a reward. It's not a myth. It's a mutual agreement between species, practiced for millennia. Their language is as unique as their lives. Hadza speech is filled with click consonants, created by sucking the tongue against the teeth or roof of the mouth. These sharp, rhythmic sounds, unlike anything in English here, not just beautiful, they're efficient. Imagine communicating a full sentence in a whisper, in the dark, while stalking prey. Clicks don't echo. They travel short but clear, making Hadza one of the most stealth-adapted languages on Earth. Even more remarkable, their language has no known relatives. It stands alone, just like the people who speak it. At night, they gather around fire. Not to pray, not to debate politics, but to tell stories. Legends of the trickster baboon, the sun child, and the rain spirits drift over the flames. Children lie half asleep, their bodies curled into warm sand. No screens, no homework, no stress. They don't count years. They don't mark birthdays. They live every day as if it might be the last, because in a way, it always is. And now, here's the uncomfortable truth. This way of life is vanishing. Land is shrinking, tourists are flooding in, and the government is pushing them to settle, farm, conform. But the Hadza resist, not with protests, not with anger, but with quiet determination, because they know something we've forgotten, that perhaps the richest life is the one lived closest to the earth. We leave the savanna behind. The red earth of northern Tanzania fades into volcanic ash plains as we climb higher toward the green heart of the East African Rift, where clouds wrap themselves around black cliffs and every footstep sinks into moss. Here, at over 8,000 feet above sea level, a mountain looms. Mount Elgon, an extinct volcano on the border of Kenya and Uganda. But for one tribe, this mountain is more than just geology. It is mother, ancestor, spirit, home. We are entering the domain of the Sabaot Saba Opa, semi-nomadic people who have lived on the slopes of Elgon for centuries, tending cattle, harvesting bamboo, and performing rituals that echo back to the dawn of time. I meet Chebet, a young Sabaot woman wrapped in a bright red shuka blanket. She is guiding us through a dense bamboo forest where the trees rise more than 60 feet, swaying in the mist like silent guardians. She speaks softly, always in metaphor. A mountain doesn't speak with words, she says. It speaks through the wind, the cry of the leopard, the taste of the river. To the Sabaot, nature isn't scenery, it's sacred law. When a tree falls, they pray. When a baby is born, its umbilical cord is buried in the earth to bind it to the land. And when the mountain is angry through storms or drought, they don't blame science. They ask forgiveness. Cattle are life here. Not just food or income, but social identity. A man's wealth is measured not in cash, but in cows. Marriage dowries are paid in cattle. Disputes are settled with cattle. Even names are given based on what your father herded. A man with 40 head of cattle is not just respected, he's powerful. But the cattle must move. The mountain gives pasture only to those who understand her rhythm. During dry seasons, families climb higher. During rains, they descend. It's a dance as old as the earth itself. And with every migration, the Sabaot carry their homes round huts made of grass and cow dung, built in less than a day and sturdy enough to withstand wind, hyenas, and cold nights. Yet, for all their grace, this is a tribe on the edge of something dangerous. Modern pressure is closing in. The Ugandan government has declared parts of Mount Elgon a protected park. Conservation teams now patrol the land, arresting those who cut bamboo, even if they do it with ancestral rights. The forest is shrinking. The rules are tightening. Chebet's brother was taken into custody last year. His crime? Harvesting wild honey the way his grandfather taught Himbi, climbing into hollow tree trunks using a rope made of bark. He spent 6 weeks in jail. There is one ritual, however, that outsiders fear the most: initiation. Among the Sabaot, boys do not simply become men by growing older. They must prove it through blood, pain, and courage. At around 15 years old, a boy undergoes circumcision, but this is no hospital procedure. It happens outdoors, in front of the entire village, with no anesthesia, no tears allowed. He must not flinch. To scream is to bring shame. To stand tall is to be honored. Elders chant, women dance. Drums echo from the cliffs. The mountain watches. It's controversial, yes. Even within the tribe, opinions are changing. Some want to replace it with symbolic ceremonies. Others cling to it as the last anchor of identity. Chebet's younger cousin went through it last month. She says he didn't blink. Because our boys, she says, must have hearts like lions. And then there's the fire ceremony. Once every few years after harvest, the Sabaot gather for a night of drumming and trance. Dancers wear masks shaped like buffalo and vultures. Old songs sung in the Kalenjin language rise like smoke into the trees. Some of these songs are over 500 years old, passed mouth to mouth, unbroken by war, famine, or empire. And in the middle of it all, children leap over fire. Not for fun, but to symbolize passing from one world to the next. From past to future. From child to warrior. But here's the twist. Despite their deep roots, many young Sabaot are leaving. Some walk 50 miles to attend boarding schools in the lowlands. Others are drawn to Nairobi or Kampala, where smartphones and asphalt rule the world. Chebet's older sister now works at a tech firm. She wears jeans, she speaks English fluently, and she hasn't set foot on the mountain in 3 years. Sometimes I wonder, Chebet says, staring into the fog, if the mountain will forget our names. It's a haunting thought, because when culture fades, it doesn't scream, it whispers. It disappears. One word, one song, one child at a time. As we descend from Mount Elgon, my boots soaked in dew and mind full of ghosts, I realize this isn't just anthropology. It's a countdown. Each tribe we visit is a vanishing page in the book of humanity. And unless we read it now, carefully, respectfully, and with open hearts, it may be gone before we ever understand what it truly meant. We drive for hours south, then east. The mountain air gives way to dry wind. Trees become shrubs. Green turns to gray. This is the Omo Valley in southwest Ethiopia, a place where the earth is cracked and pale, as if the sun has tried to bleach it clean. But it hasn't. The stories here are too stubborn. We're here to meet the Mercy, a tribe known across the world, often reduced to a single image, a woman with a massive clay plate in her lower lip. But what you don't see in those viral photos is the sound of silence. The Mercy speak in soft tones. Their movements are slow, deliberate, like every gesture carries weight. And when you sit with them as I do now, cross-legged in a hut made of twisted acacia branches, you feel it. This isn't performance. This is survival. I meet Duka, a Mercy woman in her early 20s. Her earlobes hang in perfect circles, stretched by wooden discs the size of jar lids. But it's her lip plate that dominates a wide, sun-baked piece of clay painted with charcoal and river ash. She removes it gently, revealing a stretched lower lip that hangs like a curtain. There is no shame in her eyes, only pride. When I wear it, she says, I wear the voice of my mother. The tradition begins at around 14 years old. A girl's lower lip is pierced, then slowly stretched over months and years. The plate grows in size, sometimes reaching 5 inches across. Why? Theories abound. Some say it was originally to deter slave traders. Others say it's a mark of beauty, of maturity, or marital eligibility. Duka just laughs at the speculation. Why do your people wear makeup? She asks me. Fair point. But the Mercy are more than aesthetics. They are pastoralists, fierce warriors, guardians of cattle in a land where rainfall is rare and grazing grass is gold. Cows are sacred here not just because of meat or milk, but because of blood. In times of hunger, the Mercy don't slaughter their herds. They bleed them piercing a neck vein with an arrow and collecting the blood in a gourd. They mix it with milk and drink it warm. It's rich in iron, protein, and ritual. One Mercy elder tells me, if a man gives his blood to the cow gives blood to the man. That balance is everything. It defines wealth, diet, even gender roles. Boys tend cattle, girls fetch water. Elders watch the sky for omens. And every year when the dry season ends and the Omo River swells, the community gathers for the most iconic and controversial rite of all, the Donga. Imagine this. Dozens of young Mercy men, stripped to the waist, covered in white ash, each wielding a 6-foot-long hardwood stick. They face off in a massive open field. No helmets, no armor, just adrenaline, technique, and pain. The fight begins with dancing, hooting, leaping. Opponents size each other up, then clash in brutal bursts of combat, swinging their sticks like swords. The goal isn't to kill, but to dominate. A well-placed strike to the ribs or skull can win the match. Blood is common. Broken bones, too. But the reward? Honor, marriage, respect. A victorious fighter may win the right to choose a bride ear, at the very least bragging rights that last a lifetime. It's a ritual that anthropologists argue over. Is it violence, theater, courtship? But the Mercy don't care what we think. To them, the Donga is sacred. It's how you prove your courage, how you show you're ready to protect your community when outsiders come. And lately, the outsiders have come in waves. The Ethiopian government, eager to modernize, has built hydroelectric dams, upstream dams, that alter the Omo River's flow, change flood cycles, and destroy the land the Mercy have depended on for generations. Sugar plantations now eat up the grasslands. Soldiers patrol the region. Roads are being paved even where no Mercy have ever driven. And tourists armed with smartphones descend on villages by the dozens. They snap photos, toss candy, wave dollar bills. Some mercy pose for money, others hide. The cultural erosion is visible day by day. Duca tells me her cousin left last year for Jinka, a nearby town. She now wears jeans, works in a market, and doesn't speak the mercy language anymore. She says she is free, Duca says quietly, but her eyes look empty. At sunset, the air turns orange. Smoke from cooking fires mixes with dust. Children chase goats through thorn bushes. Women sing lullabies older than the nation that surrounds them. And I wonder, how long can they hold on? Can a people stay rooted in clay and ash when the world demands steel and glass? There are no easy answers, only stories, wounds, and silence. But we keep moving, because the next tribe may be even more mysterious. In the highlands of Angola, beyond the reach of Google Maps, a semi-isolated community still lives by ancient codes, where hair is sculpted with red ochre and time itself seems to bend. The dirt track to the Kunene region is barely a road, just a winding trail of red sand that cuts through northern Namibia like a scar. Dust gets in your teeth. The heat makes your skin feel like it's shrinking. Even the flies seem slower here, as if the air itself resists motion. But then we see them. A woman stands barefoot on the cracked earth, her body gleaming like polished bronze. Her hair is twisted into thick cords, coated in red ochre and butterfat. A child clings to her leg, silent and still. This is Himba land. The Himba are semi-nomadic pastoralists, known for their Ochazia mixture of red ochre, crushed stone, and animal fat. They apply daily to their skin and hair. It's more than just protection from the sun and insects. It's identity, symbol, legacy. Without ochre, one elder tells me, we are naked even if we wear clothes. Women rise at dawn to apply the paste. They coat every inch of their bodies, shaping their hair into elaborate designs that signal age, status, and motherhood. Girls wear 2 forward-pointing braids. Married women wear sculpted crowns of ochre. The red is everywhere on skin, hair, even huts. It's the color of the earth, the blood of cattle, the breath of ancestors. I stay with Chaveva, a mother of 5, in a small homestead surrounded by thorny branches. Her family owns about 30 cows aside of modest wealth. Their home is a circle of huts made from cow dung and clay centered around a sacred fire. This fire, I'm told, must never go out. They call it Okuruwo, the link between the living and the dead. It's tended by the male head of the family, and smoke from its flames connects each generation to the ancestors who came before. You cannot walk between the fire and the main hut. You cannot spit near it. You cannot lie when facing it. To do so is to break the Banto, invite misfortune. Despite the deep spirituality, the Himba are intensely practical. Like the Mercy, their wealth is measured in cattle. Boys are trained to herd by the time they're 8 years old. Girls fetch water from distant wells, walking miles with 40-pound clay pots balanced on their heads. Marriage is arranged young, often before puberty, and sealed with the gift of cows. But here's where it gets complicated. The Himba practice polygyny. A man may have multiple wives, each with their own hut, each with their own fire. Yet women are also allowed to take lovers with the husband's knowledge. In fact, it's encouraged. I asked Chaveva about her visitor, a man who arrives just after sunset and disappears before sunrise. She laughs. He brings me meat. We talk. That is all. But her smile says otherwise. It's a system based not on jealousy, but balance. Children born from these unions are raised communally. No DNA tests, no paternity fights, just shared responsibility. As an outsider, it's hard to comprehend, but here it works. There's no stigma, no gossip, only rhythm. Still, change is creeping in. Chinese-built cell towers now dot the horizon. Tour buses arrive more frequently, filled with photographers hoping to capture authentic tribal life. They snap pictures, toss candy, and drive off. Some Himba now wear sneakers beneath their red skirts. Some boys trade cattle herding for WhatsApp and soccer. And the younger generation? They're torn. One young woman, just 16, tells me, I want to go to the city, but when I dream in red. The sun drops fast in the desert. The sky turns violet, and the wind picks up, carrying whispers of sand across the plain. A group of women gather near the fire, singing a hymn to their ancestors. Their voices rise in haunting harmony, full of longing and love. And I think to myself, how many civilizations will collapse not from war, but from forgetting? The Himba are not resisting time. They're flowing with it, adapting, compromising, but never surrendering the core, the fire, the red, the silence. As we leave the homestead, Chaveva presses a dab of ochre into my palm. So you remember, she says? I will. But memory fades. And in the heart of Africa, there are places where even memory has gone silent. Our journey next takes us farther west to Gabon, into jungles so dense they swallow the light. There, we will walk among the Fang, a people whose ancestors guarded secrets written not in books, but in bone. We cross the border under cover of darkness. Gabon is thick, wet, and whispering. The roads dissolve into jungle, and the air hums with the pulse of 1,000 insects. There's a kind of magic here, raw and unfiltered. It clings to the skin like mist. Our destination is hidden deep within the forest, beyond where maps grow vague. A land once feared by French colonists. A land still cloaked in mystery. This is Fang territory. The Fang people once spanned across Central Africa, from Cameroon to Gabon and Equatorial Guinea, but their reputation spread farther, carried in the terrified journals of early missionaries. Why? Bones. Thousands of them. For the Fang, death is not an end. It is migration, transition, elevation. They preserve the skulls and long bones of their ancestors, keeping them in carved wooden boxes called reliquary figures, or bayeri. These guardian figures, often stylized with infant-like faces and adult torsos, are sacred. They're not decorations. They're portals. When we arrive in a remote village near the Ogoué River, it's nearly midnight. A ritual is already underway. Men in white paint dance in a slow spiral, circling a small fire. In the center stands the Nganga. The spiritual leader, his face hidden behind a black and white mask, his eyes glowing through the holes. He beckons us forward. This is Bwiti, the heart of Fang's spiritual life. Bwiti is not a religion in the Western sense. It is a system of knowledge, healing, and vision. And its path begins with a root. They call it iboga, a bitter, powerful plant that grows only in this part of Africa. When ground and consumed, iboga induces visions-long, intense journeys into the self, the past, and the spirit world. Western scientists call it a hallucinogen. The Fang call it a mirror. That night, we witness an initiation. A young man, no older than 18, kneels before the Nganga. His body trembles as he chews the dry bark. The effect begins slowly: sweat, nausea, then stillness. His eyes roll back. He slumps forward. The drums begin. Over the next 12 hours, he will die and return guided by the Nganga through visions of his ancestors, his past sins, his future self. No one speaks during this time, not even the boy's mother. At dawn, he awakes. Different. I sit with the Nganga afterward, his mask now hanging from a tree. He tells me iboga shows you what the world hides. I ask him what he means. He places a hand on my chest. You think you are a body, but you are not. You are memory. You are story. You are ancestor and unborn. In the West, we bury the dead. Here, they walk beside you. But not all the stories are peaceful. French colonists, upon finding reliquary boxes, accused the Fang of cannibalism, of dark arts and devil worship. They destroyed sacred sites, burned carved figures, banned Bwiti. But the Fang adapted. They hid the bones deeper. They spoke in symbols. They waited. Now in the 21st century, Bwiti is thriving once more. In fact, Westerners, especially Americans, have begun arriving here not with cameras, but with questions. Iboga is being used to treat depression, PTSD, even heroin addiction. But the Nganga warns, you cannot take the root without the roots. Meaning, you cannot extract the plant and leave behind the culture. At sunrise, I'm invited to a private shrine. It's a hollow tree, deep in the jungle, lined with bones stacked like sacred architecture. Some are centuries old. The air is thick with beeswax and thyme. A skull stares back at me, jaw open in eternal laughter. I feel small, not afraid, just aware. We all return to the earth. But the Fang remind us, the earth remembers. As we leave the village, I see a young boy carrying a carved figure on his back, tied with red string. He waves at me, then disappears into the trees. The jungle swallows the path behind us. The rhythm of drums fades, but their echo lingers. Ahead lies Angola, a dry, harsh land. There, the Mwila women walk with necks wrapped in hundreds of copper rings, their hair sculpted into thick tubes like a crown of snakes. They carry centuries of tradition on their heads and their backs wrapped in color, weight, and silence. But their story? It begins with war. The sun in southern Angola doesn't rise. It slams down hot, heavy, and merciless. By mid-morning, the ground is cracked like ancient leather, and the air carries the scent of dust and smoke. This is the land of the Mwila, a people as proud as the mountains that cradle their villages. But to meet them, we must earn it. We drive for hours, smiles of nothing but termite mounds and thorn bushes until the road disappears altogether. Our tires sink into red sand. Then, over the final hill, they appear. A group of women standing in perfect silence, still as statues, gleaming like copper under the sun. The first thing you see is their hair, not braided, not shaved, sculpted. It's coated with a rich red paste made of ochre, butter, and crushed tree bark molded into thick cylindrical rolls that resemble horns or river reeds. Each tube represents a milestone. Each style tells a story: maidenhood, marriage, childbirth, mourning. This hair isn't fashion. It's biography. The second thing you notice is the neck rings. Dozens of them made from copper, brass, or iron stacked from collarbone to jawline. Some women carry over 20 pounds of metal on their bodies every day. Why? Because Mwila women do not wear history lightly. They carry it on their skin, on their bones. And once the rings go on, they never come off. Not for sleep, not for bathing, not even for death. We are invited into a shaded hut built of dried mud and cow dung. It is cool and quiet inside. The village elder, a woman in her 60s named Nakwimena, speaks slowly in Nyanaka, her language as smooth as wind over sand. Her granddaughter translates, "The rings are our pride, our shield, our beauty. Without them, we are not seen." In Mwila culture, a woman's worth is measured not by what she says, but by what she endures. I watch as a young girl, no older than 12, has her hair wrapped in red paste for the first time. She doesn't flinch, not even as the ochre stings her eyes. It is her rite of passage. Her mother sings softly while applying the mixture. The song is hundreds of years old, a lullaby for warriors. Because here, women are the strength. They tend the fires, build the homes, raise the cattle, and carry the memory of every ancestor who walked this soil before them. But that soil has known blood. The Mwila were once part of the Mukubo Confederationa network of semi-nomadic pastoralist tribes. But war, colonization, and forced displacement shattered their unity. During the Portuguese occupation in the 19th and early 20th centuries, Mwila communities were pushed into harsh, remote terrain. They resisted assimilation and paid the price. Missionaries tried to strip the women of their rings. Soldiers burned their shrines. But the Mwila held fast, burying their traditions deeper, tightening their copper coils, and passing on their language in whispers. Today, they are fewer in number, estimated at just over 10,000 people scattered across Namibe and Huila provinces. But their culture endures. Every scar, every braid, every bead is a declaration. We are still here. And still, they resist. A Mwila girl is not allowed to look in a mirror until she turns 16. Until then, she must learn her own reflection through her mother's words. There's a kind of poetry in that. a culture that teaches beauty as inheritance xenoprojection. As I leave the village, one of the women places a copper ring in my hand. It is old, worn. I try to give it back. She smiles and says, "Now you carry something too. Not weight, not pain. Responsibility." Because when you witness a culture this alive, this ancient, and this fragile, you are no longer just a traveler. You become a keeper of stories. We return to the road. The horizon blurs with heat, but something shifts in the air. Ahead lies the edge of the continent, the Skeleton Coast, where sand meets sea and time stands still. But first, there's one last tribe to meet. A people of smoke, silence, and surreal beauty. The Himba. And their secrets are written in red. The Himba people live on the edge of the desert where the Kalahari sands stretch endlessly, cracked and whispering secrets under the relentless sun. At first glance, their world seems frozen in time. Their bodies and faces are coated with a thick red paste made from ochre mixed with butterfat. This OTJI's paste does more than protect them from the harsh desert sun, and in Sexit tells a story of identity, pride, and survival. Walking among their villages is like stepping into a living painting. Women wear intricate hairstyles adorned with shells and beads that signify age and social status. Their jewelry, crafted from iron and copper, clinks softly with every movement. Each ornament is a chapter of their heritage. The Himba's connection to their cattle is sacred. These animals are more than wealth, they are the pulse of life itself. Cattle provide milk, food, and social status. Children grow up learning to read the subtle signals of their herds, understanding when danger is near or rain is coming. But life here is not easy. The Himba have endured droughts, political pressures, and the encroachment of modernity. Many young people leave for towns and cities, lured by promises of a different future. Yet, most return, because to leave is to lose a part of oneself. Their villages are made from a mixture of mud, dung, and stixa, natural architecture perfectly adapted to their environment. Smoke curls from hearths, filling the air with a smell both comforting and mysterious. The Himba's spiritual beliefs are deeply tied to the earth and ancestors. They honor their forebears through rituals that ask for protection, fertility, and rain. Elders guide these ceremonies, preserving oral histories passed down through generations. One of the most striking aspects of Himba culture is their respect for women's strength and autonomy. Women are community leaders, decision makers, and keepers of tradition. Their red ochre is more than decoration, it is a symbol of life force and endurance. As the sun sets, the desert transforms. The sky explodes into colors no artist could capture. Fires are lit, stories are told, and the Himba's resilience glows as bright as the stars above. In this remote corner of Namibia, the Himba remind us that culture is living, breathing, and changing, yet rooted in ancient soil. And just beyond the horizon, our journey will soon come full circle. The final chapter of our odyssey waits in the heart of Africa's vast savanna, a tribe where survival means mastering both land and sky. The Maasai. The Maasai, one of Africa's most iconic tribes, live across the sweeping savannas of Kenya and Tanzania landscapes, where the golden grass stretches like an ocean under an endless blue sky. For centuries, they have lived in harmony with this wild world, their lives entwined with cattle, warriors, and ancient customs that have withstood the tests of time. From the moment a Maasai child is born, they are introduced to a world where bravery, respect, and community are everything. Boys grow into warriors, undergoing rites of passage that test their courage and endurance. These ceremonies, sometimes harsh and demanding, symbolize the transition from youth to manhood. The Maasai are famous for their vibrant red shukas, bright beads, and towering stature. But beneath this striking appearance lies a complex social fabric built on values of loyalty, generosity, and a deep spiritual connection to nature. Cattle are the heartbeat of Maasai culture more than livestock. They are currency, food, and the measure of wealth and status. Each family's survival depends on the health of their herd, and every life event is marked by cattle exchanges. Yet in today's rapidly changing world, the Maasai face challenges that threaten their way of life. Land pressures, climate change, and modern influences test their resilience. But even amid these trials, the Maasai remain steadfast guardians of tradition and stewards of the land. As dusk falls over the savannah, the Maasai gather around fires, singing songs that echo the stories of their ancestors. These voices carry wisdom, strength, and a fierce prideful reminder that identity is never lost, only transformed. Our journey across Africa's mysterious tribes has taken us deep into the heart of human endurance, culture, and spirit. From the remote wilderness where the Hadza live without possessions, to the deserts with the Himba's red ochre, and now to the Maasai's vibrant lands, we have glimpsed worlds that challenge everything we think we know about civilization. What does it truly mean to live free, to survive not by the rules of modern society, but by the timeless laws of nature and community? At RemoteEarth, we believe that these stories matter because they remind us of our shared humanity and the endless ways people adapt and thrive. If you've been captivated by this journey, make sure to subscribe and join us as we continue to explore the hidden corners of the world. Because at RemoteEarth, every story is an adventure, every culture a window into the soul of our planet. Thank you for watching. Until next time, keep exploring.